All right, it is 3:30. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hello to everyone. If I haven't met you before, I see a lot of familiar faces. Thank you for signing up for my presentation. My name is Heath Simpson. I'm a research associate in the Office of Planning, Research, and Assessment. So I've already checked today's recipients. Everyone should have the Qualtrics icon in their MyUSI, but I do want to preface this presentation by saying that you may find it best to just watch my screen and not necessarily follow along on your own unless you have multiple screens at your disposal. That's up to you, but it would probably be best if you just watched what I did as I did it on the screen. Okay. So whenever you start to go into Qualtrics for the first time, you're going to click on the red Q icon here on your MyUSI. You'll sign in, it'll give you this screen. If you've been in Qualtrics before and you have other projects, you'll see more than just this. But if you are new, you'll probably just see one of these dashboards. So the USI Course Perception Survey dashboards are broken into two. One of them you see is the response rate dashboard and the just normal USI Course Perception Survey dashboard. So the response rate dashboard, everyone, including new instructors who don't have results, should be able to see that currently. If you don't, just shoot me an email after the presentation and I'll get you set up. The other dashboard is where whenever you have results, you'll be able to see that dashboard and view those in. So let's go ahead and look into the response rate dashboard. So automatically, just by default, I usually set this academic period filter to be the current term that we're in.
Good.
I got 2 boxes
Hello.
of bricks.
So for right now, since we don't have any results for spring 2021, I still have it set to fall 2020. Whenever we start sending out evaluations, I'll set it to spring 2021, and this will automatically populate live with the current distribution within your survey dates. So that course calendar that I sent you a couple weeks ago with the dates of your evaluations, if you log in here and you look during those dates, you'll actually see your courses here in this table and the count go up as students complete the survey. And this response rate is just the count divided by the amount of surveys that were sent out. So this is really a good conversation starter in the classroom. If you want to encourage students to fill out the survey, you can even show them this if you want and say, hey, I see that only 50% of you have filled out the evaluation. You know, make sure that you fill that out before this date, the end date of the evaluation. So this is really useful to ensure that you're encouraging students to do the evaluation. You are able to look at past semesters if you want to, but for the most part, you'll use this during the term. Okay, you have some filters here if you want to filter to them, but for the most part, you'll be able to see all of your courses. I don't think anyone's going to teach more courses in a term that will show on this table here. So that's really the main purpose of this dashboard. And everyone should be able to see that dashboard now, whether or not you have results in. This next dashboard that I'm going to show you, I'm just going to do a walkthrough of the results dashboard. So if you have results, you will be able to see this dashboard. There's 2 different ways to get to the second dashboard. You could go back to your home by pressing on the blue XM logo, or you could just click here on this down arrow and you'll be able to go to the results dashboard. On your screen, it would just say USI Course Perception Survey. So let's go there now. Okay, so this first page of the dashboard is just kind of an overview and some small notices and instructions, some best ways to use the dashboard. Feel free to look at this at your own leisure, but I will just go over quickly the dashboard functionality. This is just explaining
Put them in the shed all the way
some
on the
details
back.
of the dashboard.
Also,
So overall, all of
Honest
these
barrels.
pages that you can click through
two tubs out there are full.
consist of the entire dashboard. This whole thing is the dashboard, and these are the
If not,
pages.
maybe I'll just drag it down.
Whenever you go and look at the other pages, you'll see.
Thank you so much.
Filters. Okay, so that's just explaining some of the layout of the dashboard. And some best practices I'll go over talking about filters in this presentation. There is one note per the Provost's office that I do stress. Per the Provost office, fall 2020, summer 2020, and spring 2020 results are not required for promotion and tenure portfolios or materials. Those aren't required to be part of your submission. You can still include them and you can find them in this dashboard that I'm about to show you, but they're not required. So just keep that in mind. So the first page that I want to talk about is this overall summary tables page. Right off the bat, all of these dashboards are going to be set to an aggregate. So you're going to be looking at all of your results. Whenever you get results in, or if you have results in now from multiple terms, this is all of your results for all of your courses. You have to use these filters at the top to limit your selection to an individual course, or perhaps just an individual academic period, if that's what you want to look at. But primarily, this is best used for looking at an individual course, or looking at an individual course across multiple academic periods, if you want to look at different sections of the course. So let's just do a quick overview of what this page has on it. So right here you can see and this is all just example test data. This isn't real. So this is just showing that I have 43 total responses. That just means that 43 students have taken the evaluation for me. You'll notice that in this first table, you see that the count of responses is lower than that total responses number. That's just because 43 students logged in to take it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they made a selection for each question. They're not required to make a selection for every question. They're allowed to, they don't have to. So that's why these numbers are different from your total responses, but you will see on each of these tables here that it shows 42 responses for, that's the max amount of students that actually clicked on something for this question. So these are the course and instructor questions where you can view the percentage of students that selected that for that question, the average between 1 and 5, strongly disagree with the statement, all the way to strongly agree, that's 1 through 5. And then of course the count of responses. So this is really the meat of your questionnaire. And then if you scroll down, you'll see the two kind of self-assessment questions that we ask. One of them is, I'm taking this course because and you can select all that apply. So they can select fulfill a Core 39 requirement, a prereq, or a requirement for your major minor, or if it serves as an elective. Keep in mind that since this is a select all that apply question, this percentage won't equal up to 100%, just a note. And the second question is, select the grade that you expect to earn in the course. They do have the options of A, B, C, D, F, pass or fail, but since nobody selected fail for me, it doesn't show fail. So it only shows what the students selected. And then below that, we now have, if you were here previously, we now have the open comments questions on the same dashboard. So whenever you make filters at the top, it filters this entire dashboard page, and it will change the amount of responses and open comment questions that are shown. So the 3 that we have on the course perception survey are, what aspects of the course did you find most valuable? Would you change any aspects of the course? If so, explain why. And if you were the instructor for the course, what would you do differently? So if you scroll down, you can see at the bottom, it displays no more results to show. So you want to be able to see that if you make a PDF or if you download it and you print it out. If you don't see that at the bottom, you know that you don't have all of your responses on your PDF. So just make sure if you are printing these out, that you see that at the bottom of those. Okay, so let's talk about filters. So on all of these dashboard pages, there's some sort of filters. For the first couple, there's these same filters. So we have it locked on your username and your name, so you won't be able to change that. If you're a chair or a dean, then it's locked on your respective department or your college. That's how we manage access to this dashboard for everybody. If you want, you probably won't have to change the college too much if you teach just in one college. But if you do teach University 101, then you probably have UD as one of your college selections. So just depending on how you're filtering, you might just want to make that all. Just kind of depends on what you're looking for. And then we have academic period, department. So for me, just my example, I have basket weaving and general studies. You can choose your courses that you're looking for. Course type is whether or not it's a lecture or if you're in nursing or in the SE college, then you could choose between whether it's a clinical or a lab. We have that available as well. And your subject if you ever want to filter by subject as well. So let's just filter to an individual course, and I'll show you how to make a PDF and you can print it out. So let's say I want to filter to my Basket Weaving 101 course. So I know that that is in fall 2020. That's what I want to look at. The department I know is basket weaving. And my course, I want to look at my 101-001 course. Course type, you could probably leave as all for the most part. Same as subject. It's kind of optional if you want to filter those or not. So notice that my total responses, the big number on the top right, has gone down. That should be a visual cue to you that you're limiting the data source. You're filtering down to something. So if that's not changing, then you're not filtering. So for the most part, it will change. So I've made my selection for my first course. I can view it online. That's all good. Notice that if I don't have any responses, and you can see that here at the end of the question, 0 responses, it won't show anything online. But for this one where I have 2 responses, it does show the no more results to show right below all of my open comments for that one question. So say I want to make a PDF of this and print it out, or just save it. So what you're going to do is go up here to export, select download dashboard. And for this page and the overall summary graphs page, you won't do anything here. You'll just click export. There are different options to export it to a portrait, which we did, or a landscape PDF, which is just long ways and wide ways. And this will download in your browser, or it might go to your downloads folder. It just kind of depends on what your browser settings are, but it should pop up in just a moment. It doesn't take too long. Another interesting thing about these filters is what I'm going to do next is filter to 2 different courses, and to quickly get rid of my previous filter selection, there is a reset to default option at the end of your filter settings. Click that and it'll give you a clean slate of all of your filters. So I really encourage doing that in between every kind of filter selection you go in here to do. Okay, so I see that my export finished downloading. So this is what the PDF will look like. You can save it, you can print it off if you want, but you can see at the top, you can see your filter selections, your name, the academic period, which course it's for, You have all of your results, your open comments. And here on the PDF, I don't know if that's easy or not to see, but if you have 0 responses, it will say no data found. Your filters may be too exclusive, which they kind of are, but it's also because nobody responded to that question for you. And again, whenever you make a download, you do want to make sure you either see this, if there's no responses, or this no more results to show if you do have responses. Okay, this does make for a somewhat long export. It's 4 pages, but that's just too a lot for, well, students could write a book for open comment questions, you know, and some of you might see that in your own dashboard. There's no limit to it. So that's just to accommodate for the large amount of, excuse me, open comments that we get. If there's any time where this doesn't fit, your results don't fit onto an export, you might think about just making an export for an individual course or just breaking it up. I can't really foresee a chance where it's going to be more than these 3 pages of open comments, but if they are, just let me know and I can help you out with that. Okay, so that's how you make a PDF of this dashboard, but I did want to show you guys. So if you want to look at, say I have a basket weaving course that I teach multiple sections in 1 semester or multiple semesters, it doesn't matter. Let's just pretend and say both of these are basket weaving 120, but different sections. So you can make multiple selections in a filter. But do keep in mind that whenever you make a selection, it will stay there. So to unselect it, you have to select it again to deselect it. Okay, so that's just how you do a multiple select in the filters. You just click it, but make sure that you deselect it if you don't want a selection selected. It's a lot of selects, but that's how the filters operate. So I'm going to go to reset to default, just give me a clean slate. So that's pretty much it for the overall summary tables. So let's move over to the overall summary graphs. So you'll see the filters didn't change at all. This is essentially the exact same page as the one before, except where there were tables, there are now graphs. So it's just a different way to look at your data. Visually, just looking at the screen, you do see the percentages for each of your questions, but if you hover over it, you can see how many people responded. That's the 14 responses there. So you've got your course questions, your instructor questions, and then those 2 self-assessment questions and your 3 open comments. So same thing as the previous page. And you can export it the same way as well. Okay. So those 2 are really our basis for the dashboard. The rest of these are kind of supplemental. So we have a trends dashboard page where you can look at your questions throughout time. Now that we have multiple semesters, we've been able to update this page to include that. And on this one, it's locked on a specific academic periods because fall 2019 was our beginning university-wide switch to Qualtrics, so that's where we want everybody to start. There were a couple of trials in the summer terms before that, which people can still access on here, but it's not that many, so that's why that is there. And we've locked it on your name and your username as well, but you can still filter to a specific course if you want to for this to see, you know, if you know that you've taught a certain course in multiple semesters, you can see how that's risen or fallen or stayed the same. So here we have the course and instructor questions shown, all of your quantitative data points. Okay, one thing I didn't mention before, but on all of these pages, I do have a link here to the downloading instructions. So if you click on this, it'll open up our Oprah webpage about course perception surveys. And here on the right-hand side, you can actually view the calendar that I sent out at the beginning of the semester, I update this with each term, and you can also see these instructions on how to download each page. Okay, so we've got instructions there as well. We even have a demo here if you want to click through, or well, this is just a PDF of the questions for the course perception survey, but we do have a demo here, this link here. So if you ever want to click through, or even click through with your students and show them exactly what they're going to be asked about, you can do that. Okay, that's all on our Oprah website. So the next page that we should go over is this faculty summary. So faculty summary is a page that we created intentionally for promotion and tenure purposes. This is really a quick, it's a quick filter to see all of your courses throughout time. So by default, let's see, reset to default. So by default, we don't have the not required terms selected. So right now you see I only have my fall 19 showing here. This is where your name would be, where it says Oprah Office. But if you want to see all of those terms, or just select the ones that you want to include on the download export to the PDF, you can select those here, or you can select all. So now those are showing in the table. So this table shows the course ID and the course section number and the course type, so whether or not it's a lecture, clinical, or a lab. And this N equals 6/21, that's your response rate. That's how many students took it in your course. And then this is just the percentage. Okay. And then here we have the strongly disagree to strongly agree 1 to 5 average for each of those questions shown in the table. And the questions are laid out up here. So you can correlate that Q1, Q2, Q3. Okay. You don't necessarily need all of those filters to filter to one course because they're all shown here for the summary. And you would filter, or excuse me, you would export this the same way, export it, download dashboard, but for this specific page, it's best displayed in a landscape orientation because it's more wide than it is long. It's long on the other ones because of the open comments, but on this one, it's just wide. So that's how you would do that one. The remaining two are our newest additions, the comparison pages. So let's start with this table comparison. So what you're able to do in this page is you can't necessarily filter on a lot because it's already shown in the table, but this just shows you a comparison of your individual results, your department results, your college results, and the university overall results. So the only thing that you'll really filter to is an academic period. So let's just say I want to look at fall 2020. So this first table are your individual averages. So these are just, this is an aggregate of all of your averages for that academic period. And you can see that here if you hover over the filter that I've locked on this table, it's locked on your username. So it's only your results. Okay. And you can see that here in the table itself, fall 2020, this would be your name. And then these are the course instructor questions again with the percentages. And here's an average and the count of responses. So the next table are your department averages. Okay, and you can see that as well here in the filter where I've locked it onto my departments of this fake basket weaving department and the general studies. So again, the table changes with the filter. So if I were to select multiple, it would show multiple. It's really designed just to show one at a time, but you can do that. So here you see the department averages for that academic term, each of them. And not everyone's going to have two. Most people will just have one. This next table are your college averages. So that's here in the title. And you can look at this filter as well. So it's locked on my LA and UD. This last one doesn't have anything because it's the university overall. So there's no filters on it. This is just everyone's results for that term. Okay. So this last page is essentially the exact same thing as the table comparison, but just in a graph form. We're true to our trend here. So this first block are your individual averages. Again, you can see the filter, your username, the department, your departments or department, your college, and the university at large. No filters on that one because it's everybody. Okay, and you can only filter this one to the academic period as well.